Hello, my name is Randy Penn. I am the Faculty Waste Reduction Agent at the University of Florida IFAS Extension in Sarasota County. The Waste Reduction Agent is an unusual title and non-traditional position here at the Extension Service, so I like to think of it more as I educate Sarasota County residents on ways to reduce their environmental impacts. By offering classes and projects related to recycling, food waste diversion, and composting, residents can make a positive impact on the environment. Behind me is our compost learning area where you can come and take one of these courses and learn the benefits of composting. I also manage the county's Green Business Partnership Program, which educates local businesses on best management practices related to waste reduction, water conservation, and energy consumption. Like I always say, it's great to go green, it's great to recycle, it's great to compost, and it's great to be a Florida Gator. Welcome back. One of the biggest questions I get is what type of bin should I use? So there's lots of different types of bins out there. Some of these contain bins that you can spin and that are on stands. There are other ones that are open bins, just kind of freestanding with the opening up. So I wanted to kind of take you in depth and answer some of those questions here in this short little video as we go through each one of these. So the first bins I want to look at are kind of your open bins that sit on the ground. I have an example of 4 of them here behind me. You can get these plastic kind that have a lid that opens up that you can put the contents in and then cover them up and keep it protected. You can go with another kind that's like that has a drawer down here that lifts open and you can pull the compost from the bottom, which a lot of people like as well. It keeps you from having to turn it quite as much. Basic one right here is just welded wire. We use those here at the extension because they're readily available. We have lots of wire and they're really cheap to do. Not the most aesthetically pleasing one as the ones over here, but they work effectively and they work really well. And then the last one here is a geo bin, and it's just a plastic round bin that you set on the ground. All these are open on the bottom and open on the top, and then some of them have the lid on top. Really good basic way. You can layer your compost in there very well, and we're going to go through that a little bit more detail as we build our piles. But I also want to take a look at some of the tumblers that we do as well. Another very popular kind of compost bin are these tumblers, and I have 2 of them pictured here, but if you go online or one of your landscaping stores, there's lots and lots of different kinds. And so the main thing is just finding one that scales and fits into your area. A lot of folks are drawn to these because they have pets or that may get into these. They also want it to be a little bit more protected from outside animals and things like that. But they work really well. It's the same process whether you have the compost bins that are open or they're a tumbler. But I will point out a couple things when trying to look at and considering one of these closed kind of tumbler, and that is the opening, the size of the opening. As you can see with this one here, it has a very small lid and a very small opening. It makes it really difficult to get in there and pull out the material when it's ready to go. On the flip side of that, I have these ones that are over here, and they spin really nice on top of here, but then they have this area that opens up, and you can see it opens up really wide and dumps out. I kind of like that a little bit better just because it's easier to get the material out, but again, it's about your preference and what you want to manage and how much material you want to create. This is a lot of volume right here in these 2 containers. This one's a little bit smaller, so that may fit your needs a little bit better. I wanted to show you the type of worms that we use in our vermiculture bins here. So I've got my single bin unit here with the screen holes in the lid. I'm going to kind of put that off to the side. I'm going to dig through and show you the red wigglers that we use. Where I see a lot of confusion is when people go to a bait store or one of the department stores where they sell those little styrofoam things and they call them red worms, or sometimes they do call them red wigglers. They're actually a different type of worm. The red wigglers that we have here are going to be very small, maybe 1 inch, 2 inches in size, whereas if you go to the bait shop, they actually want to sell you big long worms, 5 or 6 inches. So they're actually a different species of worms. So I'm going to kind of dig into my bin here and give you a little bit closer look. You know, as I go through, I'll start to notice all this real dark material that's starting to get built up in there, and that's the castings that we're after. It's also a little bit of the material, the bedding material that's in there. Here we got a nice ball of the worms here. Hopefully I can get up a little bit closer. There we go, a nice ball. They'll ball up around the food that we throw in there. If I come in a little bit closer, you can kind of see them there. And here's like one here. You can see how small that is? Maybe an inch. There's another one that's really, really teeny. And there's, about a dozen worms right there in a small amount of space. And that's the worms we want to use. They're designed to break down organic material, whereas a lot of the other worm species, there's over 9,000 of them, aren't really designed to do that as well as these do. I've actually used a couple different types in my composting over the years in different bins to try out different things. I've had most success with the red wigglers. I have used some of those African night crawlers that I ordered from a place up in Tallahassee that worked pretty well. But those are the two main ones that you'll see, but definitely want to start with the red wigglers here. So hopefully that helps. Welcome back. In this week's lessons, we're talking a lot about fan engagement and trying to integrate environmental programs into various venues. Behind me is Nathan Benderson Park. That's the finishing tower of what has become the United States premier rowing facility. We're at the World Rowing Under 23 Championships. They've also hosted the NCAA Division 1, 2, and 3 finals here, numerous high school and high school state of Florida events. So what I'm going to do with this video is kind of move around the venue, show you some of the different environmental programs that we have implemented here over the last couple years. One of the big ones that we really focus on is trying to do a better job of diverting the waste, reducing plastics, and specifically our composting program, which is a really, really cool program where we collect all the wasted food throughout the venue, and then we take it to an area within the park here, and that's processed with mulch lined bins, and it's reused back in the park. So it's a closed loop system that we do here, really unique, especially for a rowing event, but this venue really lends itself to that type of thing. So I'm going to take you through some of the really cool features that are here on the outside of the park where people can ride their bikes by. First thing you see here is kind of a hydration station where you can fill up reusable water bottles. If you kind of continue on with me here, we'll walk to the second station, which has a bike pump facility here straight ahead. So if you have a flat tire, it has all the tools mixed in. And then really cool here is a solar powered recharging station where you can put your USB in there and recharge your phone if you need to along the way. And there are a number of these type of things throughout the venue, and I'll kind of point them out as I go back into it. All right, so another example of what we're doing from an environmental perspective here at the rowing event is this right here. This is full of water, and we're able to come and use reusable bottles, eliminating the use of single-use plastics at the event. So you can just come in, kind of fill up, and this is over in the athlete area, so you can see behind me athletes are coming up all day. We probably reduced over 2,000 or 3,000 water bottles by doing this at the event. All right. Another component of the environmental program that often gets overlooked is the transportation. You can see here I have a sign that says it's going to the Hyatt Hotel, to the airport, but while that stuff is necessary, it also helps to reduce the carbon footprint. It eliminates a lot of the cars that come here. So if you're looking to offset some of these initiatives as far as your planning goes, looking at using local school buses is a great way to do it, and that's what they're doing here at the rowing event. All right, so I'm standing here in front of the recycling containers here at the event. You can see we have traditional trash here. We have one that's labeled bottles and cans for the recycling. And we actually have added a third one here, which is the composting. So we provide composting for all the food waste at the event. I'll go into a little bit more detail about that down the road here a little bit about the program we have here. But it's important at your event to make sure you align all your containers to match the recycling in the city that you're working in. For the last step in kind of this project, I wanted to show you what happens to the food waste. So we take it and we put it in these metal lined bins here, and they're packed with mulch. So we build up a layer of mulch, we put in the wasted food, another layer of mulch, and we just continue to do that and let it build up. Over the next month or so, it starts to sag down and break down and compost, and we just kind of let it sit here and let nature do what it is. And then what we end up is, and I don't know if you can see this really well, I'll bring it kind of close in here, is this beautiful compost material that's broken down, still has pieces of the mulch in there, but it works fantastic. It's a closed loop program, you know, diverting the waste that happens here at the event, processing in the maintenance area here. We've had no problems doing this. The waste is then broken down into this mulch compost material high in nitrogen, and it's reused and respread back in areas around the park. Pretty cool project.